Hello everyone, it's Margaret here with 60 and Me. Thank you for joining me today. I want to talk to you about what I consider to be the most important human skill. Now, I am a big fan of the letter C. Whenever people ask me to describe myself, I always say things like creative, compassionate, caring. Those are my power words. And when it comes to what I think is the most important human skill, the most important word that starts with the letter C, it is communication. And I think that it's at the heart of everything that we do. And it can generate emotion, expressiveness, beliefs, values. It's the way that we talk to each other and the way that we talk to ourselves. Now, I'm bracing myself for this conversation because I'm being caring of myself. It's a big topic, and I know that we all do our best to make our communication effective and fair and loving, but sometimes it's at the heart of so many things that cause trouble in our lives, challenges. So I've got my cup of tea today. Now, I think I'm sharing today my favorite puka or paka, whatever it is, tea. It's called cassis, a Charmant cassis, and it's actually made with blackcurrant and hibiscus, which is like my favorite tea of all time. I've just, sort of fallen passionately in love with it. So that's my tea for today. So grab a tea, coffee, whatever you drink, and let's share together as we talk about communication. Now, communication isn't the only C word that circles around this idea of connecting with each other. There's another C, connection, connection, compassion, I think I've talked about, and conversation. And maybe that's where we start. Sometimes I think we're lacking basic conversational skills because we become so much focused on online engagement and talking. When we get to sit down with someone and look at them face to face, our connection sometimes, starts to become protective and measured instead of open-hearted and, and free. So, importance of social connection. Now, there's been numbers of research projects, you could look them all up online, about the key things that are important in happiness in your life and in building friendships and, and people. And we know from experience that as you get older, the relationships and friendships shift. We don't have the same context as we did when we were married parents or in school or at the workplace. We don't have those same hooks for connecting, and having chats with people. I remember all of my working career. I think most of it, I had an office of my own at Microsoft, but when I moved into other roles, I actually, I was at a long desk with other people, and we were always talking backwards and forwards and communicating with each other. We didn't send emails. Remember this as even as children, we didn't have computers, so we didn't actually, gosh, I keep thinking of all these C words now, computers, connections. That we had to actually talk to people. So there's in this digital age is like given us a decline in conversation, just the actual act of talking to each other. It's all email and text, and I think we need to kind of help ourselves move a little bit beyond that. So more and more easy ways to communicate can actually, in a way, produce less connection, less communication. We get the facts across, we let people know what we're doing, where we're meeting, how we're dressing, what we're wearing, what our ideas are, but we don't actually sit down, look face to face, look in the eyes, and actually see what people are feeling as we talk to them. Now, I actually was watching a video the other day about ways to talk to people who are attacking you or pushing your values or not saying the things that you want them to say, that they feel they're in an opposing camp, or they actually sound different. And that is the way that your face actually reflects the words that they are saying. So you might cringe or look down or look up, or even just in some kind of disdain, but that those words then fuel their conversation. They see that they've touched a nerve. We're very, very manipulative when it comes to communication, and we can be because we're humans. We do this. We're very evocative in our speech and on our actions. So just when you're talking to someone who maybe has a different point of view, try to establish a neutral look. Show some compassion, not pity, like, whatever. I'm not doing faces very well, but not to sort of be discarding, but don't be just immediately thinking what your response is going to be. A hook, they say a word that I don't agree with that. And then you start composing your own response to their conversation, without really listening to what they're saying. So I guess that's one of the first kind of guidelines with communication is, use both your ears and one mouth to opposed to one and listen. Listen first. And if there is something in that conversation that you agree with, it's like, yes, and, like you said, I agree with you completely. And, this, and then your story or your comment can be added on with an and try not to do the but response. Someone is saying, I want to do this, or I believe in that, or I feel strongly about this. You can say, my opinion is to not try to say things like, yeah, that's a good idea, but there's no money for that. Or, yeah, that's a good idea, but how are you going to do that? Honestly, be honest with yourself, and use the but word to kind of negate, because immediately that you say but, is, the whole thing is gone because you put up a barrier. So I guess that's the next thing is, in addition to listening, is actually respond in a way that's constructive and, express, show that you want to bond with them in this moment of conversation, even if it's not completely what you agree with, even though it's not completely that you want to connect and bond and, be empathetic or empathic. I think it's empathic to their perspective, to their values, because values, beliefs, goals are so deeply embedded in us that if someone pricks at them with their little, dagger, like, just challenging you, you're like immediately on defense. So that's, I think, a couple of things to think about with communication. Now, of course, there are going to be times when communication is very factual. You just want to say, I need to meet you here. This is happening. Do this. I need your help or whatever. And it's like almost like an emergency situation. Like communication can be, very factual and dramatic. But in doing that, you can actually say the words that are not panicked or, over extreme. They're more like, I've got this situation. I need to communicate this to you. I need you to help me with this, or I need to ask you to help me with this. And, you'll get a different response than if you sort of panic or, attack in a defensive way. Simple communication skills. Maybe you've got some ideas here. There's a couple of things I want to mention before I close, and that is talking to younger people, because I think that today there's a different language. Let's face it, they're talking in a little bit of a different language, which we did. When we were young, we had our own language. So I think we have to try to adjust our language and our words and even the volume or the intensity of our voice to be open to something new. They are facing a different kind of world than we did. I'm talking about, people in their 20s, 30s, and 40s now, because they are, the Gen X, I think it's Gen X, it's, the ones that were born after us, that, that are really not getting some of the perspective that we got, because life was a little bit, and I'll say it's easier because we didn't have the same digital exposure. And I think that young people, particularly teenagers, 20s, those are people that we just need to try to talk in a way that's showing interest in them. Like, how do you feel about that? What's your view about something? And then not be prepared like to leap back with, well, mine is this view, to say, I understand that. I get that. It's not quite what I might feel about it, but, I do understand where you're coming from. And I think in doing that and not sort of loading them, when I was your age, conversations, or, when things were different, decisions were made in a different way, that you don't want to throw back the kind of, the things that you went through. Just say, yeah, I get it. I really understand what you're saying. How can we work together maybe to try to make this different? Or how can I help to support you even? You might see what they're saying as a real red flag, that needs some support from us too. And so jump in and be of assistance, and don't sort of talk about your operations and your knee injuries and how tired you are and how tough life was. You have to, I think, in communication as a skill, move to the art of talking, which is to listen to others and work together towards creating a connection. It doesn't have to be based on absolutely similar values, but there's this kind of radical shift, I think, to a conversation orientation, which is sharing rather than than opposing. Human emotion is all about compassion and caring and creativity and connection. It's what we do. It's what makes us humans. I mean, yes, dogs and cats and animals, do bark and lick and hug us, and there's that connection, but nothing like we can achieve with our power of communication. I believe the power of words is so powerful. Here I am talking to you, just on a video. I'm just talking into my phone, and you are listening, and hopefully you're feeling something. There's an emotional connection. So, hope that you enjoyed this conversation, this connection. If you did, please leave your comments below about what you think about this topic. And if you enjoyed the video, please like it. YouTube likes to share things where people like and leave comments. So I would like to ask you to help me with that, and have a wonderful, journey on this conversation adventure. The power of words can bring you together with so many breadth of people, different generations, different, different genders, different beliefs, and let's build a world that's built on unity and love and compassion. Another big C. Take care, everybody. Have a fabulous day. We'll talk again soon.